The night sky erupted in fire, a scene of chaos and destruction that seemed almost apocalyptic. 180 streaks of light, each one a deadly Iranian missile, screamed towards Israel, leaving trails of fear and uncertainty in their wake. Sirens wailed, a terrifying symphony of impending doom, echoing through the streets and into the hearts of every resident. Families huddled in shelters, prayers whispered against the deafening roar of explosions. The walls of these shelters, though sturdy, could not shield them from the fear that gripped their souls. The Iron Dome, Israel's high-tech shield, flickered into life, intercepting some, but not all, of the deadly rain. Each successful interception was a small victory, but the sheer number of missiles overwhelmed the system. This was no surgical strike. This was an all-out assault. The intensity of the bombardment was unlike anything seen before, a relentless barrage that showed no signs of stopping. Iran, for the first time, had launched a direct attack on Israeli soil. This bold move marked a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict, sending shockwaves through the international community. The Middle East held its breath, bracing for the inevitable retaliation. The region, already a tinderbox of tension, now faced the very real possibility of a full-scale war. The world watched with bated breath, knowing that the repercussions of this night could be felt far beyond the borders of Israel and Iran. Israel's response was swift and merciless. Columns of tanks and armored vehicles, draped in the blue and white Star of David, thundered across the Lebanese border. Hezbollah, Iran's proxy militia in Lebanon, became the immediate target. The Israeli Defense Force pushed deep into southern Lebanon. Their objective: clear-crush Hezbollah's infrastructure and dismantle their capacity to wage war. Lebanese civilians, caught in the crossfire, fled north, their lives upended by a conflict not of their making. The world watched with a mixture of apprehension and dread. Across the Atlantic, the United States, Israel's staunchest ally, grappled with the escalating crisis. The political battle lines were drawn. Republicans, hawkish and unwavering in their support for Israel, demanded a decisive strike against Iran itself. Cripple their nuclear ambitions, they roared. Make them pay for this act of war. Democrats, while condemning Iran's aggression, urged restraint, fearing a wider conflagration in the already volatile region. The debate raged on, a stark reminder of the deep divisions within America itself. The missile attack on Israel was not an isolated incident, but the culmination of weeks of simmering tensions and escalating violence with no end in sight. Israel, facing threats on multiple fronts, had been engaged in a relentless air campaign. Hezbollah strongholds in Lebanon, Hamas targets in Gaza, even suspected Iranian-backed Houthi positions in Yemen had all been hammered from the air, leaving devastation in their wake. The region, a tinderbox of ancient rivalries and modern geopolitical complexities, was ablaze with no clear resolution in sight. Section 5. Innocent blood spilled, the human cost. In the midst of conflict, it is often the innocent who bear the heaviest burden. The human cost of war is a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of violence. War, however precise, leaves a trail of devastation in its wake. The destruction of homes, schools and hospitals is a grim testament to the indiscriminate nature of conflict. The once vibrant neighborhoods are reduced to rubble, and the air is thick with the acrid smell of smoke and despair. Amidst the political posturing and military strategizing, the true cost of the conflict was etched on the faces of the innocent. The tears of a child, the anguish of a mother and the hopelessness of a father are the real stories of war. These are the faces that remind us of the human cost of our actions. A Palestinian laborer seeking refuge in the West Bank, crushed by falling debris, his dreams and aspirations buried under the weight of conflict. The emergency responders working tirelessly to save lives are often overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the devastation. Lebanese families huddled in fear as bombs rained down around them. The constant threat of violence forces them to leave their homes carrying only what they can. The sense of loss and displacement is palpable as they navigate through the chaos, searching for safety. Children, their innocence shattered by the trauma of war, their futures uncertain. They play amidst the rubble, their laughter a stark contrast to the destruction around them. These young souls, who should be dreaming of a bright future, are instead haunted by the horrors they have witnessed. The human toll, a heart-wrenching testament to the futility of violence, continued to rise. Funerals become a daily occurrence, and hospitals overflow with the injured. Each life lost, each injury sustained, is a poignant reminder of the cost of conflict. The scars of war run deep, leaving a lasting impact on those who survive. Section 6. Israel strikes back, a night of retaliation. As dawn broke over the Middle East, the sky above Beirut, Lebanon, lit up with the fiery trails of Israeli missiles. Hezbollah targets, identified and tracked with pinpoint accuracy, were obliterated in a symphony of explosions. Buildings crumbled, sending plumes of smoke and dust into the air. Israel, determined to deliver a message of strength and resolve, had unleashed its fury. "This is not the end," an IDF spokesperson warned. "This is just the beginning." Section 7. Iran's arsenal, a new era of warfare. The debris recovered from the initial missile attack on Israel sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. Among the wreckage were fragments of Iran's most sophisticated weaponry, Khaybar-Shekan and Fatah-1 missiles. These were not crude, unguided projectiles, but precision-guided munitions capable of striking deep within Israeli territory. Iran, despite years of sanctions and international pressure, had developed a potent and dangerous arsenal, shifting the balance of power in the region. Section 8. The World Watches, a plea for peace. As the drums of war beat louder, a chorus of voices from the international community rose in unison, pleading for restraint and de-escalation. The United Nations, the European Union, world leaders from every continent, all called for calm and a return to dialogue. The alternative, warned the UN Secretary-General, is a catastrophic regional conflict that no one can win. But would their pleas be heard above the clamour for vengeance and the seductive allure of military might? Section 9. The brink of war. Israel's gamble. Israel, facing an unprecedented threat, found itself at a crossroads. The temptation to unleash the full might of its military, to strike a decisive blow against Iran itself, was strong. But the potential consequences, a wider regional conflagration with unpredictable and potentially catastrophic outcomes, could not be ignored. The world held its breath as Israel weighed its options, the fate of the Middle East hanging in the balance. Section 10. A future uncertain, the looming shadow of conflict. As the sun set on another day of conflict, the Middle East stood on a precipice. The streets, once bustling with life, now lay silent, echoing the cries of a region torn apart by years of strife. The shadows of the past loomed large, casting a pall over any hope for a peaceful future. The path forward was shrouded in uncertainty, the air thick with tension and the spectre of further violence. Every corner of the land bore the scars of war, and the people, weary and disillusioned, yearned for a respite that seemed ever elusive. The distant explosions were a grim reminder of the fragility of the current ceasefire. Would cooler heads prevail, paving the way for diplomacy and a fragile peace? The world watched with bated breath as leaders from all sides convened, their hands shaking in tentative agreement. The stakes were high, and the hopes of millions rested on these fragile negotiations. Could they bridge the chasm of mistrust and find common ground? Or would the cycle of violence continue, drawing the region deeper into a quagmire of conflict? The spectre of renewed hostilities loomed large, with tanks and soldiers poised for battle. The fear of escalation was palpable, and the consequences of failure were too dire to contemplate. The region teetered on the edge, with the potential for devastation ever present. One thing was certain: the road ahead would be fraught with peril, and the consequences, for better or worse, would reverberate for generations to come. The civilians, caught in the crossfire, bore the brunt of the conflict. Their resilience in the face of such adversity was a testament to the human spirit, but their future remained uncertain. The choices made in the coming days would shape the destiny of the region, and the world could only hope for a resolution that would bring lasting peace.